Hi, Limestone Saints. I'm Sherry Vassy with the National Center for Performance Health, and I'm here today to talk to you about time management. National Center for Performance Health is probably better known to you as GameChanger. GameChanger is a program that is available to all Limestone student athletes, and we are here for you anytime you need us, 7 days a week, for any kind of problems that you have that you feel that you need to talk to someone about. We do work in connection with the counselors on campus, but we also are here 24/7 when you need some help and you can't get it there on campus. The number for GameChanger, if you need help, is at the bottom of this slide, 866-684-2007. But if you need to get a copy of that, please talk to your coach and keep that on hand. Hang on, I'm having trouble with my I went too fast. Hold on. Well, I'm going to keep going then. I was trying to show you a picture of Dr. Mara, who is behind all of this, but for some reason his picture doesn't want to come up, so we're going to keep going. I want to talk to you now about the difference between you as student athletes and the other students there on campus. What's the difference? You both have classes and you both have homework. You both need some type of social life, and you both are involved in campus life. But the difference is you as student athletes are required to maintain a GPA in order to remain on your team, which means you have to study a little bit harder a lot of times. And student athletes are also required to practice daily, and other students are not. So the reality of it is it's a little more difficult for you to be able to be successful in college than it is for the regular students. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how we can figure out some ways to help you organize your time and be better at college. Okay, the reality of it is that you have to juggle what all the regular students do and manage your requirements in addition to that. And to everybody else, all they ever see is all this that you see here in these pictures, all the glory. And that's a great part of it. And it's wonderful for you and for them. But the reality of it is the behind the scenes is not as pretty as all of these pictures you're seeing here. So an athlete's schedule is very stressful. The question is, when do you sleep? Sometimes you have to ask the question, do I sleep or do I study? Do I practice or do I do my homework? And those decisions are real for you. And it's difficult to make the right decision sometimes. So let's talk about ways that you can work your schedule out. But first we need to talk about sleeping, because sleeping is one of the most important things you do. According to the Sleep Foundation, on their website, they tell us that teenagers need to get 8 hours of sleep a day. Well, most of you are teenagers or maybe a few years older, but the reality is that includes you too. But it also says there on the website that athletes need 10 hours of sleep in order to be able to be peak performance. So how are you going to get 10 hours of sleep, do your homework, do your practice, work out, have a social life, and all the things that you have to do? Well, according to the Florida National University Athletic Department, the only way for student athletes to succeed is to be highly organized. And you're probably all shaking your head going, yeah, right. I don't have any time to organize. So let's look at some ways that can help you. The USA Today Sports site had an article where a D1 baseball player was talking to them about how he made it through college and was an athlete and was successful with his studies. And so I'm going to talk to you about some things that he said were the most important things to do. The first thing he says is to prioritize your tasks based on what's most urgent and what's most important. Well, that's kind of hard when everything's most important and everything's most urgent. I know that. The reality of it is that everything's important, but you've got to sit down and think about the day and what has to be done this day and what can be put off until tomorrow. And that's how you prioritize your tasks. If something is not due till the end of the week, then kind of put it down the list a little bit. Practice obviously has to be a priority. Your classes obviously have to be a priority. So you have to pick what's most important during the day and what has to be happening and what can be put off. All right, another tip that he gives us is to write everything down in a planner. Now, I know that girls tend to use planners more than guys do, but you have to remember that this came from a baseball player, a male baseball player. I'm not going to put his name in here because you can read the article if you're interested in knowing who he is. But he says that he used a planner. It helps to write things down because writing things down helps you remember them. Just the actual act of writing down things will help you to remember what you wrote down. For example, remember when you were in elementary school and you had, say, 5 or 10 spelling words, and your teacher used to tell you, write your spelling words 5 times each for homework. Guess why she asked you to do that? She wasn't giving you busy work. There's actually research behind that shows that the more you write something, the more you remember it. So the research backs that up. And so keep that in mind as you're thinking about whether or not you want to use a planner. Writing things down in that planner will not only help you remember it, but then you've got a visual right there in front of you. And you've got all of your assignments and all the things that you need to do right there in one place. The next idea that he had for us was, and I thought this was really interesting, to create your own deadlines for assignments. He says that at the beginning of the semester, he would sit down with his syllabus and he would, if something was due on Friday of a certain week, he would decide that he would have to turn it in that week on, say, Wednesday, because he knew that on Friday he had a game. And so his head would just not be there. And so he decided that it would work better for him to make things due on days that he didn't have a game. He also said to compare your deadlines to your athletic schedule. Make sure that when you are making those deadlines that you are comparing them to when you have games and when you have practice and all the things that are involved in your sport. Next thing that he talked about doing was, this was a quote from him. He said, when things were assigned, I did them immediately, not the week they were due. I made up my own due dates so I wouldn't have any excuses. Basically, in my opinion, what he's saying is, don't procrastinate. We all tend to do that. It's not due till Friday. I'll do it Thursday night. Well, what happens if Thursday night you get sick? Or what happens if Thursday night, I don't know, a practice is called, a meeting is called, something can happen, and then you're not going to get it done. So once you get an assignment, try to make it a priority to go ahead and at least get started on it so that it's not bothering you all week and so that you're not putting it off to the last minute in case something does come up that you can't get it done. Next, he says, and this is something that you can't really do right now because we're in the middle of a semester, but for next semester, you can think this through before you get started. But his advice there is to schedule your classes to account for when you'll be traveling for your sport. You know ahead of time what your schedule is for your sport, when your competitions are, when your games are, when your practices are. You'll know these things ahead of time. So try to schedule your classes so that you don't have classes on the days that you have games, or that you have less classes on the days that you have games. This will make your life a whole lot better if you'll do that. A lot of students want to make all their classes on Monday through Thursday so that they don't have classes on Friday, and the weekend can be great and stress-free. But if that doesn't work for your sport, then you need to work it out to where it works for your sport. Maybe it'd be better not to have classes on Tuesday if that's the day your games are played or your competitions are played. This is another idea that he had, and I thought it was pretty neat too. He says to treat school like a 9-to-5 job. And if you think about it, it is a 9-to-5 job. So as student athletes, you kind of had two full-time jobs, because you have school, which is a full-time job, and you have your sport, which is also a full-time job. So you've got it double right there. It's a lot harder for you to be able to manage your time than it is most students. So his idea was to treat the day from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, whatever time your classes start, and use that time for school only. For example, if you have a class at 8 and it's over at 9, and you don't have another class until 11, don't go back to your dorm and take a nap. Take that hour between your classes and sit down in somewhere quiet, in the library, in a courtyard, somewhere, and go ahead and get some homework done. Read ahead for one of your classes. Study for a test. Use your time between classes, because that is your work day. Once your work day is over, then you have free time and you've done your work, and you don't have to stay up all night to study, or stay up all night to get that paper written, or whatever it is that is due for you. So try to think about school like your job. And when the day is over, then if you've gotten everything done, then you can have some downtime. He also talks about downtime, and he says that you should use your downtime wisely. Now, most students, when they think of downtime, they think of binging on Netflix, social media, hanging out with their friends, and that is downtime, and that's good stuff. But you can't use all of your downtime for that. He says to be careful about what you're doing. Think about it. As an athlete, you are maybe not right now, but eventually, or will normally be on a bus riding to and from away games or competitions. Use that time when you're on that bus to study, to read for a class, to do some homework. Use your time there instead of just chilling. And then when you get finished with your game and get home, you can go to bed and you don't have to stay up all night to get your work done. Also, he talks about missing classes because of your sport, and sometimes that's going to be necessary. You're not going to have an option for that. But if you do, it's so important to make sure that you catch up before the next class. Watch the online lecture. Study the notes that are posted online. Make sure that you at least have some idea of what went on during the class that you missed before you go back to the next class. All right, the next one, and to me, the most important one, is to ask for help. There is no shame in admitting that you need help. There is nobody in this world who doesn't need help at some point in time. Just because you are good at your sport does not mean that you're great at everything else. You're going to have situations where you need help, where you don't understand what's going on. Ask people, ask peers to help you. I'm sure there's tutoring classes or places where you can go on campus to get tutoring. If you are truly struggling in your class, go to the tutoring sessions. If you need help with time management, talk to your coaches. They can help you with some ideas. Talk to your counselors. Call GameChanger. Talk to someone there, and they can help you individually get a time management situation set up that works specifically for you. Also, if you're having trouble with stress, anxiety, any of those things that just come with the stress of everyday life, school, sport, social life. If you're having trouble with those things, don't let it get the best of you. Ask for help. Again, you can call GameChanger any time of the day or night. You can talk to your coaches. You can talk to counselors on campus. There's all kinds of places where you can get help. So don't wait until it gets too much. Go ahead and ask for help ahead of time. This slide I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to call it to your attention because I thought it was interesting. Time management is a misnomer. The challenge is to manage ourselves. And if you think about it, all these things that we've talked about today and where I've used the term time management, it really isn't managing our time. It's managing ourselves. It's being responsible enough, being disciplined enough to do what needs to be done right now so that we can do the next thing later. Be responsible enough to manage yourself. Don't allow other people, other situations to control you and your thoughts and your feelings. Control yourself, and you'll be a much happier person. I hope you all have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you.